Good morning and welcome to day 4 of our 5-day SEO Masterclass. We are getting into the home stretch and I'm excited to share with you today. This is one of my favorite new recommended pieces of SEO that I always share with entrepreneurs. And it's something that we've actually been doing a long time for our SEO clients. And it's nice to see that now Google's algorithm is actually taking a lot of that work into account. What you want to look at with this newest strategy of Google, it doesn't have as much to do with all those technical pieces that we talked about, the meta tags and meta descriptions and those kind of things, making sure that your robots.txt isn't blocking crawling on your website. These are pieces that every entrepreneur, anybody with a website, can actually go in and do on their own website. As long as you know how to make an update on your website, you can do these pieces. If you don't know how to update your own website, you can still do the pre-work of coordinating all of the information together, like I'm going to share with you, and then ask your web person to put into action these pieces we're going to talk about. This is directly related to one of Google's newest updates, actually from 2019, of they now focus on user intent. And I've talked about this a bit in the past, but you've probably noticed it yourself. If you go to Google and you search something, the next time you search for that, one thing it's going to do is show you under a page you've visited before that you last visited this site on such and such date. The other thing it's going to do that you may not be noticing as much, if you did visit certain sites to get information on that last search, Google is doing more and more in their algorithm to understand where you are in your search process, which directly relates to where someone is kind of in their buying journey for the most part as well. And so the next time you search, they may not show you the same page from that website you visited. They're more likely now to show you another page from that website that more directly relates to where they think you are in your search journey. And that's called user intent. And the great thing is you can actually set up your website. You can optimize your existing pages and posts to take advantage of this update. It's also just a great marketing advice in general. There's no point in having a website that only teaches you, only gives you contact information. That's better than not having a website at all. And I know there's a lot of people who argue that that's something I hear from prospects and clients sometimes, is we don't directly sell on our website. We don't have a button where you can buy now. We don't have a product that we sell through our site or a service that we sell through our site. However, you still need to consider this customer journey, partially because Google is considering it now, but really Google's most recent updates have more to do with how users actually use your site, has more to do with the user and their needs. And a user, even if you don't directly make a sale on your site, they're still going through a journey. They're still going through the stages of awareness, interest, desire, and action. Even if that action, the last step, may be to pick up the phone and call you. So you need to be aware of this process and make sure that your website structure is aligned along these methods. The very first thing you want to do, if you haven't thought about user intent, you haven't thought about taking customers along a journey on your site, the very first thing I want you to do is go through and make sure that there's some form of basic call to action on all of your pages and posts. That could be as simple as having your phone number, but taking it a step further, just the phone number just existing is passive. You want to actually say, call now with the phone number, or call to speak to us or call to book an appointment, or you want a place where they can sign up for your email newsletter, if that's something that you have. Some kind of basic call to action on every page. Start there to start moving people along the journey, and you want to start collecting contact information. That's always a best practice. It's still one of the best ways to stay in contact with your customers is having email. So start there. Go through, make sure all of your pages have at least that basic thing. If you need to put it in your header or your sidebar, that can work, but it's actually better if you have it actually in the body of the page or post. And it doesn't always have to be a button. People tend to think call to action has to have a button, it has to have a picture, has to have a form where they fill in their name and email. Call to action doesn't have to be relegated only to that category. You can simply add a sentence or a paragraph in a blog post, for example, that tells the reader to do something, and it tells them exactly what action to take and how. So at a minimum, start there, get something on your website if it doesn't exist. Then what I want you to do, and I'll show you a quick overview of how I do this, and it's actually part of our new SEO Accelerator course. We walk you through all of these topics and a lot more in that course, the exact how to video walk through exactly doing all of it and answering your questions and all of these things that you probably haven't thought about or put into place. You learn exactly how to do it in that new SEO Accelerator course. What I want you to think about is there's 4 pillars, content types. I want you to think about all of the information on your website. Sometimes the static pages it applies to, but it also needs to apply to blog posts or articles that you're putting on your site. Or if your site is primarily videos, whatever it may be. These 4 pillars, all of your information should go into one of the pillars. They may overlap a little bit, but that's not ideal. So the 4 pillars are awareness, interest, desire, and action. And I had mentioned those 4. You can also think about it as know, go, do, and buy. So the awareness stage, just like any marketing or sales funnel, people are just now starting to understand that they have a problem that they need help with. They have some kind of pain point, and they're just starting to become aware of it. They're just starting to become aware of the fact that there are solutions out there. And so they're doing some of that type of research on what can be done and what do I need to know, and questions, why does this happen? The interest stage is once they've realized that there are solutions, they're going to start looking for the actual solution, not just information about the problem, but information about the solution, where to find it, who has it, what kind of solutions are available, different types of solutions. The desire stage is they're ready to make some kind of purchase, and now they're comparing their options. They've done all the research of what types of options there are, and now they're looking at the actual businesses that can provide those options. So that's the desire or the do stage. And then action is them actually doing a transaction. They add the thing to the cart and buy it. They pick up the phone and call you to schedule a meeting, whatever it may be. So that flow is part of a standard marketing or sales funnel, but those are the 4 pieces of it that you need to really consider as different pillar types for content, all of the content on your website. What we do is we have you pull your Google Analytics traffic because it makes the most sense to start implementing this strategy on your pages that already get the most traffic, because that's where you can get a quicker, bigger return. You need to do it on all of your pages but start there. If you don't have Google Analytics or don't know how to pull the page level report that we use, then you can probably just take a list of URLs on your site, your pages and your blog posts, and start working through them. If you have a smaller site, that works really well. We have a lot of content, so we always focus on our own, on the pieces that get the most traffic first. So let me show you the exact spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is one of the big pieces we use in our SEO accelerator, and I'll give you a link to it. So if you're live with us, be sure to drop your email address in the comments below so that we can send you that email. If you're watching the replay, we've already gathered your email, so you'll get that email pretty much right now while you're watching the video. Let me share my screen and I will walk you through just really quickly how we use this tool. 1 second. All right, great. You should have my screen now. We have multiple tabs on the bottom of ours. That's optional. A lot of businesses only have one product, one service. We do only have one service, it's marketing, but marketing has several components. And so I actually break mine down on separate tabs for different types of marketing pieces that we offer. I want to show you this one though that I'm working on right now is the website information for businesses that need a website. So I've pulled some of my URLs in and I already updated the top one. So I color coded it green. I'm huge on color coding. And my second most popular post, that first one is actually an old post that got a lot of traffic back when I put it up. That theme, my post probably doesn't even have all of the exact how-tos for that theme anymore because I don't use that theme anymore, so I haven't updated it. But this second most important piece of website advice I have is that popular link right there. So I start with it because it's one of the most trafficked. And I note, just for my own purposes, and sometimes when I have people help me through this, I have them note what the main goal or purpose of that page is. And sometimes what you find in this process is that you need to make a pretty heavy edit on the page. Other times you don't need to do anything. When you need to make an edit is when you have more than one stage that the URL can equally fit under. At that point, you may need to break it out into 2 separate articles or pages because you only want one focus for each item. And I know it goes against what a lot of you are thinking. You're like, no, I want to get everything on one page. Yeah, some really long form blog articles can do well in terms of traffic. You still need to make sure it's only falling into one pillar, and anything that falls into another pillar, you need to break out into another article. So this one is important website advice for your small business, and it talks about a lot of things that a business owner, entrepreneur needs to know if they're getting ready to have a new website done or a redesign, and they're talking to a consultant, a web designer, a web developer, whatever title you want to give them. Because of problems we've seen, people come to us with the former vendor they worked with basically holding their website hostage. They can't get their URL. They can't get any of the information from their website. And so that article covers those pieces that you need to know, that you own your own URL, you own your own hosting, that kind of really basic level information. As I look at that, some of my existing articles and things, there was kind of a gap. So that's the awareness stage. They They're looking for someone to do a site. What do they need to know? I found a gap in the interest area for kind of the website topics. And the only place I could have really directed them from this link would have been to like portfolio or request a quote. So that right there tells me I need to add a new article, which I put down here in red. So for me, the color coding on my own, yellow means it's in process. Red means it hasn't even been started and it's something brand new. Green is done. So in red, what I want to do is write an article, and it's one that I've had on my list anyway, of the most important things for a business to have on the homepage of their website. Really great article. It's going to have a few explanations of those important pieces for your homepage, and it makes sense in a natural flow from someone who is just looking at possibly getting a website done or getting a website redesigned. If they're in the middle of that process, they need to know the most important things for the homepage. There's a couple others I have that could flow into there as well, but that's the next one I'm going to write. So I added that. What you see is that URL I'm working on. I put an X in the primary pillar that it falls under. And then the call to action, I'm going to note which page I'm going to link it to. And since that doesn't exist yet, I just made a note, items for the homepage, and put it down there. Then how we flow is that blog article discussing items for the homepage, because now they know advice to look out for. They have someone now telling them, hey, here's, our expertise is making sure your homepage converts. Here's the items you need on your homepage to make sure it converts. They start seeing our expertise. They may at that point realize it's not something they want to do on their own. So we'll link out to a portfolio of some existing sites that we've done. And we'll link it to a specific portfolio where we talk about things on their homepage. We have several portfolio links we can use, but we'll fine tune one of them to directly link to this flow. From our portfolio page, which is up here further up, we're then going to link to a request a quote. And then of course the request a quote is the buy an action stage, and our quote process actually, if they look at the quote, they can add on optional items, they can click submit, and they can sign the contract and do the checkout all in one piece. So that kind of shows you the flow of what we're talking about this user intent, and having your content fall into one of these pillars and then interlinking, and that interlinking in your website is always a good strategy anyway for SEO. This helps you do it in a way that's focused on an end goal, which is converting customers, prospects into buyers. And there is no point having a website that does not convert. So you can have all of the traffic in the world. You can do SEO and ads and everything to bring people to your website, and you might get 1 million visitors and only 100 of them actually convert into a sale, because your website is missing this piece. So this piece, not only does it actually help your SEO, but it helps you actually convert those visitors into paying customers. I would rather have 100 people visit my website, which is low traffic compared to that 1 million, and have 100 of them convert into customers, than have 1 million people come to my website and only 100 of them convert. There's many reasons why this is the case. The first is, it is hard work to get people to your website. You're either having to do these SEO strategies, including posting on social media and things like that to link people back. All of those are traffic strategies. Or you're having to pay ads to get people to click on the ad and come back. Resources of time and money, and working that hard to get that big level of traffic is great if you're making money just simply by people visiting your website. For most businesses, that's not the case. There are a few blog sites and things like that their primary revenue is driven through advertising, and that's great. In that case, yes, all they have to worry about is getting 1 million people to their site and they're making money. If your primary income is not from advertising on your site, you need to worry about getting the right customers to the right place at the right stage in their customer journey to turn them into a client. And so this strategy is what helps you go through and focus your efforts. We are huge proponents of focusing your marketing to get the end result that you need. I don't need as much traffic to my website as I need paying traffic to my website. And you're probably in the same boat. So yeah, traffic, you hear all the time, people, I'll get more traffic, I'll get more leads even to your website. None of that matters if those people can't convert, and especially if they can't convert because of the structure of your website. If it's hard for them to have a natural flow through to get to the end result. There's very few cases where somebody lands on your website and purchases immediately. You know this as well. If you're like me, I go to Amazon if I need something, and I may look at several of them. You know, I'm in the desire stage at that point. I'm making comparisons, but I don't often just buy the first thing I see. Everybody's like that. So you have to have a reason for them to come back and get more information. And this pillar structure is one of the best ways you can do it. I always say, no matter whether we're talking about social media, website traffic, some of these numbers that people talk about are vanity numbers. You know, I had 1 million visitors to my website. That's great. Are you converting them? If you're not, it's a vanity number. Or they say, I have 10,000 followers on Instagram, which is great. Instagram actually gives you an extra perk at 10,000. But if you're not converting any of them into customers, it's a vanity number. Same thing with Facebook pages and groups. I've got, 1,200 followers. Yay. But if they're not converting into customers, it doesn't matter. It's a vanity number. I kind of touched upon that in another recent video, which you can find on our Facebook page, when I talked about some of the competitor research I recently did. And it was time in my competitor research cycle to check out some Facebook pages. And the first competitor I went to, I was like, wow, they've got over 1 million followers on their page. I'm not near that yet. But then when I started looking at their posts, their engagement level was so low. It was like less than 1%. And so does that 1 million followers matter as much, or the people that are engaged? Because the people that are actually interested are the ones who are more likely to be a prospect. In the case of this particular competitor, he advertises a lot. I see his ads all over the place for SEO, products, platforms, software. So I know he's not relying upon that 1 million followers, but that's why those particular things are a vanity number, and they don't matter as much as converting your visitors into paying customers. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, or you can always shoot us an email, however you want to get connected with us. I will be sending out an email with a link for you to access and make a copy of the spreadsheet for your own use, and along with some other resources and tips in your email. So be sure to check that. Now, tomorrow on day 5, we're going to wrap up with something for 2021. It's not very often, like never, pretty much never, that Google actually tells us in advance something they're going to be changing on the search engine algorithm. But this time they have. They've told us of an update coming next that will probably be released in 2021. And there's some specific things you can do now to make your website ready for it, so you can start gathering information and know what kind of things you can fine tune and tweak to be ready for that update. So join us on day 5 for that. Until then, go do your initial call to action on all of your pages of your site.